25 years old, a Hollywood contract, a role opposite a legend. Blood on the pavement, vomit, Soho, morning. 11 years of addiction, almost got 14 years in prison at 16. 22 years ago, this morning changed everything. How is that even possible? This man's name is Tom Hardy, and this morning will change everything. Tom Hardy. Today millions know that name. Bane from The Dark Knight, Max from Mad Max, Eddie Brock from Venom, an Oscar-nominated actor, a presence on screen that's impossible to ignore. But in 2003, he was just another talented guy who risked losing it all, not because he lacked talent, because of what happened when the cameras turned off. Career on the rise, life at rock bottom, and a choice that had to be made right now. How did it come to this?
Let's start at the beginning. 1977. Hammersmith, London. A boy is born. Only child. Father, a comedy writer. Mother, an artist. On the surface, an ordinary middle-class London family, but inside this boy, something was already growing. Something he couldn't handle. 11 years old. Most kids at that age play soccer, collect cards, dream about the future. Tom Hardy starts sniffing glue. 11. Think about that. A child who hasn't even finished elementary school is already looking for a way to escape reality. Why? He'd say later, "I always felt like there was something dark inside me, something that needed to be silenced." 16 years old. Alcohol, cocaine, nights he doesn't remember, mornings when he wakes up in strangers' homes. And then a moment that could have ended everything before it began. Run-in with the law, facing 14 years in prison for a crime he never publicly disclosed. 14 years at 16. Imagine what that means. Somehow he avoided prison, but he didn't learn the lesson, because addiction doesn't work on logic, it works on pain, and the only way to numb the pain is more of what causes it. But Tom had talent, enormous, undeniable talent. 2001, HBO's Band of Brothers, Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down, Tom's breaking through, small roles, big productions, Hollywood's watching. And then comes the call that changes everything. 2002, Star Trek, Nemesis, opposite Patrick Stewart himself, the legend, Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Tom plays Shinzon, the film's main villain. This is his shot, his moment to become a star. The set of Star Trek. Patrick Stewart stands aside, watching. The young actor forgets his lines. Third take, fifth, 10th. Tom's eyes are red, hands shaking. Patrick slowly shakes his head. And one day he says something Tom will never forget. "You're going to fail in life if you don't change." Those words haunted him for years, because deep down, Tom knew they were true. He was watching himself fail in real time, and he couldn't stop. The doors of Hollywood swing wide open, but nobody sees that behind those doors, he's already falling faster than ever. What he did next would nearly kill him. Filming Bulletproof Monk, 2003. Tom's in a hotel room somewhere, he doesn't remember where, only remembers waking up, naked, in bed with a stranger, a cat nearby, and on the nightstand, a gun, loaded, safety off. He stares at it, doesn't know whose gun it is, doesn't know what happened, doesn't know how close he came to death. But he continues, because addiction isn't a choice, it's a prison with no visible exit. Daily blackouts,
He wakes up across London, across countries, sometimes in blood, not always his own. His own words, "I could wake up anywhere. I wasn't in control of anything." Another phrase he never hesitated to repeat, "Give me 4 pints of lager and half a bottle of vodka, and I'll turn this room into absolute chaos in 3 minutes." He wasn't joking. When asked how far he'd fallen, he answered directly, "I would have sold my mom for crack." Not a metaphor, truth. His wife, Sarah Ward, can't take it anymore. 5 years of trying to save someone who won't be saved. Divorce. Tom's alone now, with a bottle, with his demon screaming louder. Every morning a promise to stop, every night another blackout. It's a closed circle with no way out. Patrick Stewart's words haunted him because deep down, Tom knew they were true. But failure wasn't done with him yet. Soho, London, 2003, that morning. Tom wakes up on the pavement, blood on his lips, vomit on his clothes, sun burning his eyes. People walk past, looking away. He doesn't remember how he got here. Again. Somehow, he makes it to a doctor. Maybe someone helped. Maybe he stumbled there himself. Details don't matter. But the doctor's words, he'll remember those forever. The doctor looks at him, long silence, then speaks quietly, simply. "If you go down that road, Tom, you won't come back. That's all you need to know." No threats, no lectures, just medical fact. Cold, undeniable. Keep going, you die. Stop, maybe you survive. A choice. What happens when everything inside you says keep going, but reality says stop? In that moment, something clicks. Not dramatically, not with trumpets and revelation, just clicks, like a switch. He's 25, had a career, had a marriage, had chances, turned it all to ash. But there's one chance left, the last one. You choose, even when it's impossible, even when you don't believe you can. You choose, and he takes it.
That year, Tom enters rehab. 28 days, isolated from everything he knew, from every habit, every excuse. 28 days to learn how to breathe again. He says later, "In death, I was reborn. I was fed to the kraken and spat out on the other side." 2008, 5 years sober. His son is born, Lewis. For the first time, he's responsible for another human being, a life that depends on him. And this changes everything. Fatherhood became an anchor, he says. It's not just about me anymore. Someone needs me sober, alive, present. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu becomes his new addiction. Physical pain instead of chemical. Discipline instead of chaos. 6 days a week, training until he can't feel anything but exhaustion. 2010, 7 years sober. Christopher Nolan calls with an offer, Inception, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Tom plays Eames, a forger who changes faces in dreams. The film releases, nearly $1 billion worldwide. Critics rave, and suddenly everyone knows who Tom Hardy is. But this was just the beginning of his comeback. 2012, The Dark Knight Rises. Tom plays Bane, one of comic book cinema's most intimidating villains. He gains 33 pounds of muscle. His face is covered most of the film, but his eyes, his voice, his presence, that's all he needs. Over $1 billion at the box office. 2014, he marries actress Charlotte Riley. They met 5 years earlier on Wuthering Heights. She knew his past, knew his demons, and chose him anyway. 2015, The Revenant. Tom plays John Fitzgerald opposite DiCaprio. The Academy nominates him for an Oscar. He doesn't win, but the winning isn't the point. The point is this: 13 years after lying in blood on a Soho street, he's standing on the Oscar red carpet, alive, sober, loved. Today, Tom Hardy has been sober 22 years. 22 years that didn't just change his life, changed cinema. He speaks openly about his past, doesn't hide, doesn't run, because his story isn't about falling, it's about coming back. He tells young actors fighting addiction, "You're not alone. There is a way out, but only you can find it." Patrick Stewart later spoke of Tom with great respect. The man who once predicted failure admitted he was wrong. But maybe those words were exactly what Tom needed to hear, at the right time, from the right person. Sometimes truth hurts more than comfort, but truth saves lives. That morning in Soho, blood, vomit, a choice between life and death. 22 years later, Tom Hardy is one of Hollywood's most sought-after actors, a husband, a father, a man who proved that second chances exist, but they only exist for those willing to take them. Maybe you need to fall that low to understand how high you can climb. Maybe you need to see death to truly start living. Tom Hardy saw it, chose life, and showed the world anything is possible. Even when it seems too late, even when you're lying on a pavement in your own blood, thinking it's the end. Sometimes the end is just the beginning. If you're willing to choose, even when it seems impossible, even when you're lying on that pavement thinking it's over, sometimes it's over. Sometimes it's the beginning.